Aloha everyone, and welcome to the Planet Grom, where I aim to show people the world around them with videos answering questions, telling stories, and seeing sights on motorcycles. And in this episode, we're answering Troy's question, can anyone explain the point of stretch and lowering a Grom, and why take away the fun factor from an already limited bike? Here we go. So can anyone explain the point of stretch and lowering a Grom? Why take away the fun factor from an already limited bike? Sorry Troy, I can't actually answer that because I didn't lower or stretch my Grom. I did stretch out my Ruckus, which lowered it quite a bit, and I did it because I thought it looked pretty awesome, and I thought that I could use an opportunity to learn more technical skills and stuff about mechanics. It was a fun experience, and while I take some issue with the whole already limited bike thing, I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about how awesome it is that people stretch and lower their Groms. I mean, it's not for me. I like my Grom basically how it is, and lowering or stretching it out doesn't appeal to me at all. I look at the ones that are lowered, stretched, or fitted with crazy lights, and I sometimes shake my head. I just don't get it. But that's the rub. That's the good part. Look at how the Grom is used in the community. You have stunters, and since every single one of them have YouTube channels, that's probably the most known use for the Grom. But you also have commuters. You have people who live to modify things, and the Grom is a reliable, affordable option. You have people who want to learn to wrench on bikes. You have people who find a genuine excitement in tuning and squeezing every little bit of horsepower and miles per hour out of such a dismissed base of a bike. You have people who throw on knobbies and tackle the dirt, and you have people that ride cross-country just because. And while all of this is cool, it's indicative of a bigger thing happening. See, the Grom has a few things that could really be considered cons. They're small and underpowered, which means that quote-unquote real motorcyclists dismiss them and don't embrace them into their fold. This is only compounded when you take into account that the Grom is relatively new, so it's not like it could fall back on its history or its heritage or prestige. Oh, no. This is a new bike that's small and underpowered, so it's not exactly the belle of the ball for any established sect of motorcycling. Other bikes would have an easier time being adopted into their own worlds because they have some form of brand DNA as a hook. It could be the styling that lets a brand new model fit with a cafe crowd, or outside the local Twin Peaks with all the other cruisers, or at the track with sport bikes. But Groms can't. They're just a bit too far away from the styling of bigger bikes for others to feel comfortable regarding it as anything more than a pit bike, fun second bike, kid's bike, beginner's bike, or worst, a toy. But I say that all of these so-called cons are actually pros in disguise, because look at what came out of it. Look at all the people who are using the Grom as the vehicle to express themselves in wildly different ways, and then look at the Grom community, who is largely supportive. That right there, that's special, and more special than you think. In society, we have these things called norms. They're accepted behaviors within groups, and once they're established, any changes that are introduced will be fought or encouraged to change by the other members. Take a classroom, for instance. People in class know the class clown, and over time accept that they're the funny one. When the brain of the class, who has always been serious, starts to try to make jokes, or the clown sternly tells the class to be quiet so we can all listen to the teacher and actually learn something, it feels wrong, and the other members of the class will encourage, through various means, for the behaviors to change back to what was accepted, back to the norm. And you could argue that this is also where the argument for doing things inefficiently because it's the way that they've always been done comes into play. But more importantly than this, it's where you can see motorcycling heritage born. The norms associated with brands, be it half-shell helmets or no helmets, to vests down to loud pipes, or brand-specific associations could be classified as norms, and when things run counter to that, people are encouraged to change. That's why a few of my friends who are Harley riders were talked to by other Harley riders for wearing full-face helmets and how that's not the Harley way. And yeah, I know there are Harley riders who wear full-face helmets out there. My point is that not wearing full-face helmets is so accepted that when someone does, it sticks out to a degree where someone else feels the need to encourage a change to what is accepted. And if you look at the Grom, there's not really much of that. I mean, sure, you might have people like me who would not lower or stretch a Grom, but that doesn't mean that I wouldn't want you to do it. By all means, man, go crazy. People are supportive of it, but people are just as supportive of folks learning to wheelie or wrapping or painting their bikes crazy colors or tuning them to get 1 more mile per hour. The community is largely supportive because the Grom is relatively new and hasn't been accepted by other bikes in any real way that would establish rules, guidelines, or accepted behaviors. And when you think about it, that's probably the thing that makes the Grom the most special bike out there, because this requires a community. You couldn't say that this applies to some weirdo bike from the 70s that 2 people in the world own and like, because that community is just too small. But the Grom community is big and largely supportive of different things, and that combined with the freedom to do whatever you want with the Grom is what makes it so great. My favorite thing about the Grom is that it isn't so entrenched in history and approved practices that some people stretch them out and lower them, while others put knobbies and take them off-road, while others commute or learn to wrench, while others use them as mobile art pieces and others use them to stunt. That's one of the best things about this bike, and it should be preserved, because if any one thing, regardless of what that one thing is, becomes the standard to which everyone adheres, we lost a lot of what makes Grom so cool to so many different types of people. And that would be pretty tragic. So what do you think? Am I wildly off base? More importantly, what do you do with your Grom? Let me know in the comments below, and until next time, mahalo nui loa.